Hello friends, welcome back. In today's learning of macroeconomics, where we're dealing with the chapter of determination of income and employment, we have come to a very important and very unique topic. It's very interesting as well, and that topic is called investment multiplier. The biggest question is, who proposed this? When did it come into being? Why did it come into being? And to understand all this, I have to take you through a story. So this story relates to the Great Depression time. In late 1920s, the whole world was suffering from a situation of depression. Now let's understand what do you mean by the term depression. Depression is such a situation where the economy is having the productive resources, where all the producers have land and building, plant and machinery, inventories are there, people are there to work, but there is no demand in the economy. So the situation is of glut. Glut means the production is more, but demand is less. So in that situation, all the classical approaches seemed to be a failure, and they were not able to revive the economy from unemployment situation which was going critical and critical. Almost 24% of unemployment was there at that time. So at that time, Keynes came into being, and his approach then got a world acclaim. And he tried his best, he gave his philosophy, and he could revive the whole world from the Great Depression. Now let's have a simple contrast of the classical and Keynesian approach. Classicals laid emphasis on supply part. They said supply creates its own demand. Means supply is most important if taken out of demand and supply. But Keynes laid emphasis on demand. He said demand creates its own supply. It's not supply creates its own demand. He then classical approach, because at this moment the supply was there, but there was the lacking factor was the demand, right? Then classical said that active role of government is not needed, but now at that very time, because the economy was just facing a worst phase, so he proposed that there is a role of government required in terms of monetary and fiscal policies to revive the economy from this failure or depression situation. The classicals always had the idea that economy restores equilibrium by self-correcting measures. But Keynes said that it will take a long time, long time. And this reminds me of one statement, beautiful statement given by Keynes, that in long term, we all are dead. He never overlooked the importance of long term, but he, by this statement, simply laid the emphasis on short term. That our immediate attention, immediate focus should be on the short term. Long term is managed if the short term is managed now. So he said that government's role is required, and government should keep on active efforts like investments to bring the economy up again, functioning well. Right. So here from he gave the concept of investment multiplier. And what does it state? He simply said that investment multiplier is the ratio of delta y by delta I. Means, and he said this is the cause and this is the effect. What does it mean? It means that if government puts in some investment in the economy, it gets multiplied and more of incomes are created in the economy. So whatever is the value, that resultant was called multiplier. And why did he say so? Why does it happen? Because he assumed that one person's income is other person's expenditure. And this is very much clear and obvious. And I hope you are able to relate it with that small circular flow of income also when households and firms are there, right? and the money keeps on moving between the two, right? Now, whatever expenditure is done by households, that becomes the income of firms, and whatever is the expenditure done by the firm in terms of the payment of wages and salaries to households, that becomes the income of the households. In general examples also, in real life examples also, if I'm going to some place and I'm hiring some cab, right? So my expenditure will become the income of that person. If I'm buying some groceries, so my expenditure becomes the income of the other person, right? So on the basis of this assumption, he proposed a relationship of k is equal to delta y by delta I. It means if the government puts in, or this is the cause as he stated, that if some investment is done in the economy, the result or the effect would be more generation of income happens. Right. And he gave this relationship with the help of one more concept, that is MPC and MPS. What is MPC? We have already learned in the previous sessions that MPC is marginal propensity to consume, means the general tendency of consumption. It means MPC is nothing but the ratio of the additional consumption with respect to additional income. So here we see that MPC is, okay, you see 1 over 1 minus MPC, or 1 minus MPC is equal to MPS. So you see K is in inverse relationship with MPS, and it becomes a direct relation with MPC. Students do ask me, ma'am, it's in denominator. MPC is in denominator. Then how can you say it is direct relationship? Because it's in denominator with the negative sign. And mathematics says negative into negative results in positive, right? So MPC means if more and more expenditure or consumption do keep on happening in the economy, the money circulates more and the this would result into more and more incomes generated in the economy. How can we derive this relationship of K is equal to 1 over 1 minus MPC? Let's be with me here. Y is equal to, income is equal to either saved or consumed, we all know. And at equilibrium, this relationship can be written as C is equal to, Y is equal to C plus I, right? Because savings are equal to investments at equilibrium. And similarly, we have the relationship of additional income is equal to additional consumption plus additional investment. And if we divide both left hand side and right hand side with delta y, what do we get to have? We have 1 on the left hand side. Delta c by delta y is MPC, and this is equal to 1 by k. Just see, k is equal to delta y by delta I, and here we have delta I by delta y. So what am I left with? 1 minus MPC is equal to 1 by k. And if you simply take the reciprocal of this relationship, so we would have k is equal to 1 over 1 minus MPC. And we also know that MPC plus MPS is equal to 1. So this relationship also holds true in terms of MPS, that is K is equal to 1 over MPS. So this clearly shows that if we want to have more and more money circulating in the economy as per the concept of investment multiplier, then the consumptions must happen, because if I'm consuming, it means I'm spending, and I'm spending, it means I'm actually helping in generation of income of the other person. So to understand this well, let's use the tabular representation, and we call it the mechanism, right? And if in the examination it is asked, show the mechanism of multiplier concept, we are required to give this tabular representation. And this is very much relatable to the credit creation process which we have read in banking, almost the similar table with different headers. So I hope you also would be able to relate with the same. As I began with that assumption of initial or primary deposits there, and 1 by K was equal to 1 by CRR, right? So similarly here, K is equal to 1 by MPS, and we have to talk about what is MPC and MPS, right? So we would assume two things, that we are investing in the economy by 100 units, and the MPC, the consumption which is happening in the economy, is 0.5. It is just a hypothetical figure. You can create this table by taking MPC as 0.1, 0.2, 0.25, whatever is your wish. So let's proceed. As Keynes proposed that if the government invests some money in the economy, that money gets multiplied in form of income which is generated in the economy. Now let's proceed. Say government began with one project of, say, dams or highways, right? So, and it invested 100 crores in the economy as it is shown here, right? So because government has already spent, invest or past, right? So at first stage, this becomes the income wherever that money goes. How? Because if that flyover has to be made, so this income and so the money would be spent on construction material, iron and rods and architects and other building material like bricks, cement and whatnot, right? So 100 crores would be spent, and that would be the first phase, right? Out of that 100, if we are assuming that MPC is 0.5, so what happens? 50% of it would be spent by all those who have received, and 50% of it would be just stored. Means this is the MPS, the savings part, right? Now, whosoever, like the architect or the labor, those who got the money, so they would spend 50% out of it. So 50 would be consumed. And when I'm spending, it means the money is going from my hand and it's going to somebody else's hand in terms of the income for him. So that 50 comes back here in form of the income generated of some other person. And we here are assuming that the consumption is up to the level of 50%. So the second round begins, and 50% of 50, that is 25, would be consumed and 25 would be stored back in the vault, right? So that 25%, when it's consumed, comes back, returns back to the economy in terms of the income generated of some other person. And this chain keeps on moving and moving, right? When does it stop? As I told you there, when this initial investment of 100, right, is received back in the economy in terms of saving, then this table ceases to operate any further, and this is the ultimate result, right? So now let's talk about all the concepts related here. With the investment of 100, what is the income generated? That is 200. So it means there is a multiplier effect of 2 times. Now let's have it with the help of numerical analysis. We know K is equal to 1 by MPS or 1 by 1 minus MPC. Right. So what is MPS or MPC? Both are here 1.5. So it is 1 over 1 minus 0.5. That gives you 1 by 0.5, and that gives you 10 by 5, and hence we land on 2 as our multiplier. So we see that how much is the income generated in the economy. K is equal to delta Y by delta I, and this relationship gives rise to another expression, that is delta Y is equal to K into delta I. So how much are the incomes generated in the economy? K is 2 here, and we began with 100. It means there are 200 rupees, 200 crore is the level of income generated in the economy. With this calculation only, we are able to close this table. You need not give all these rounds. only 3 rounds would suffice, and then rest of this expression, fourth to last round, can be given in dotted format, that the mechanism goes this way. You are not required to calculate all these figures. You just give the dots and then close the table. That's very important, that delta I is 100 you began with, delta Y is 200, that is what you have created here, and delta C consumption and incomes are 50% each. Right. Now let's have the diagrammatic presentation of this multiplier effect. We are well aware of this diagram, and we have created this diagram many times there in the previous chapter. Sorry for the hazy and wavy lines. This is 45 degrees, AS or Y line, right? And if we go by AD is this, right? AD is made up of C and I. Now, if the government invests a bit in the economy, so AD rises, and that becomes equal to AD dash C plus I plus delta I. So, in the previous scenario, the equilibrium ADS was met at this situation, this level of Y. But after the government has invested, so the equilibrium has E dash is seen here. And now it is Y star. Now see, the diagrammatic presentation clearly tells you, you must label the diagram well by X and Y axis and income and ADAS, aggregate demand, aggregate supply. Now the point to be showcased here is the investment made was to the tune of this value, and the rise in income was to the tune of this value. And from the diagram, it is very clear that the quantum of delta Y is far more than the quantum of delta I. It means with this investment, the income generated would be this in the economy, and that's how the multiplier works. There is one very important point to be noted is that as the multiplier is said to be positively related with the growth, right? It generates incomes. But if any amount of investment is withdrawn from the economy, then it becomes a negative multiplier also, and that works as the backward multiplier, and that becomes disastrous. So the point to be noted is it has got a forward as well as a backward action in it. I hope you have understood the lecture well. There are a number of numericals which can be done after all these formulas of basic aggregates and the multiplier. So stay tuned for the next video, and definitely I'll be giving you the next video on the basis of numerical practice of all these concepts. Till then, stay healthy, stay happy. See ya. Bye-bye.